Good morning. Convening the Staff Hearing Officer meeting of January 22nd, 2025. We'll begin with preliminary matters. Ms. Gu, do we have any requests for continuances, withdrawals, postponements, or addition of ex-agenda items?
No, we do not at this time have any continuances, withdrawals, postponements, or ex-agenda items. Thank you.
Very good. We do have an announcement regarding 344 La Marina Drive, and I'll describe this project briefly. Pursuant to Santa Barbara Municipal Code, Section 2844110, when a proposed development involves the addition of an accessory dwelling unit to an existing single-family residence, the application shall be reviewed by Staff Hearing Officer without a public hearing in accordance to the Government Code. Staff Hearing Officer shall not issue a decision on the application until at least 10 calendar days after the notice has been provided to the public. Staff Hearing Officer may receive and consider written comments from the public, but without a public hearing. Ms. Gu, I did receive one letter from Ms. Helen Good. She's a neighbor for the project. Did we receive any other correspondence regarding 344 La Marina?
Regarding that project, no, we didn't receive any other public comment for that project. Thank you.
Okay, very good. So I'll summarize Ms. Good's letter. She has concerns regarding the loss of privacy and the proximity of the house to her home. She also brought up concerns regarding utility lines running above the common fence and the proximity of this house to those utility lines. We've contacted public works staff, and we'll be contacting building and safety staff also to look into that. In some instances, utility lines are required to be undergrounded for projects like this, so that'll be part of the consideration. Also, if there's easement, it may or may not affect the location of this house, and that would need to be addressed later. At this point, this project is approved. It's subject to the conditions of approval recommended by staff in the staff report, and based on the findings provided in the staff report, including the CEQA findings and the coastal development permit findings. This project is not appealable since it's in the non-appealable jurisdiction of the coastal zone, and that concludes this item. Moving on to item C. Ms. Gu, do we have any comments from members of the public pertaining to items not on this agenda?
On checking Zoom, I do not see any raised hands for any comment, not for items not pertaining to this agenda.
Thank you. I don't see any written correspondence either. So with that, we'll move forward to a new item at 3455 Marina Drive, and Ms. Pilar Plummer is the planner for this project. Ms. Plummer, do you need another second? Okay. So if you'll, having technical difficulties, if you hold on a minute, we'll be starting shortly. Thanks. Yeah, Ms. Gu, if you could switch over to Ms. Plummer's computer, thank you. And Ms. Plummer, when you're ready.
Great, thank you. Pilar Plummer, Associate Planner with the City of Santa Barbara, and I'll be giving the staff presentation for this project. So just for some context for this site, this is just a street view of the project at 3455 Marina Drive. The site is currently developed with a single unit residence that's a little over 3,000 square feet. There is within the existing residence a 900 square foot accessory dwelling unit that was already permitted. This structure here, which is the subject of the review today, is a existing 3-car garage set back from the property. And there's also a detached accessory building sort of towards the back, which you can see best on here. So you'll see there's an existing structure over here. This is the existing residence. This over on this portion of the property is the ADU. And then this is that 3-car garage. So the subject of the project is to do a relatively small addition to the existing garage to accommodate 2 additional parking spaces. The total net square footage that's being requested is 745 square feet. The required parking for this use is 2 covered spaces. Like I said, they already have 3 covered spaces on the property. It is zoned A1. The minimum lot size required for that lot is 1 acre, 40,560 square feet. And this particular parcel is larger than that at 1.17 acres or 51,000 square feet approximately. So it is a little oversized for the A1 zoning district. The project does require a modification for garage floor area. We're in Title 28, so the coastal zoning ordinance for the city, which does have limitations on accessory building floor area as well as garage floor area. So for just general accessory buildings that are detached, lots within the coastal zone are subject to a 500 square foot minimum, and then for garages in the A1 zoning district are subject to a 750 square foot limitation. The existing garage is 666 square feet, so it is a little bit under that, but with the 745 square foot addition that's being proposed, they are over that at a total of 1,411 square feet. I do think it's important to note that the addition is set back quite a ways from the front lot line along Marina Drive. Also, it's worth noting that there's 2 interior lot lines, but Marina Drive, which is the front, and then Cliff Drive is the back, provides a sizable setback on front setback on both of those lot lines. So that is 35 feet from the front, and then the addition, the closest point to the front lot line, is about 53 feet. So they're still keeping quite a bit of a distance from the front lot line, setting that addition back. They're also meeting the 15-foot setback requirement along the interior. So you can see that right here. Also, components of the project, they're going to do a walkway here that goes around the building and a trash area, so that's essentially screened from the public right-of-way. No trees are being proposed for removal as part of the project. In addition to the 2 spaces, this also offers some storage and workspace within the garage. Part of the justification for the request, one is because it allows for covered parking, which really for this property preserves the streetscape, which you can see is very nice, walkable pedestrian area. So by doing the additional spaces within the garage, it allows covered parking rather than uncovered parking on the property. Like I said, it is a little bit oversized, so can accommodate the additional 2 spaces without significantly causing noise or privacy issues or really affecting the overall size, bulk, and scale of the site. Other things that I would mention is that the applicant went ahead and did proactive story polls for neighbors to see as part of their study for the addition. And when that was presented to the Single Family Design Board earlier last year, they were supportive of them doing that, as well as the overall style, which really just works with the existing garage and extends it. So in terms of staff support, we are supportive. Sorry about that. I had to remote into the computer. So in terms of staff supportability, we are supportive like I said, the addition really it accommodates covered parking and can do so without affecting the front or interior setbacks. It does provide covered parking in an area which isn't incredibly close to other public transit options, so the additional parking is a benefit to the site. I do think it's important to know the applicant include this in their justification letter for the modification request is that the immediate neighbor did receive a similar garage floor area modification back in 2000. We also have a letter of support that was submitted, which I did forward this morning for a neighbor on the street that is accepting of the overall project scope. One thing I didn't mention, the owner, I believe, collects specialty cars, so this also provides some protection for those cars. And the additional workspace, just provides that for any sort of materials or items needed for keeping those cars and working on them. That essentially really concludes my presentation. It is in the coastal zone and qualifies for coastal exemption. It's exempt from CEQA. So if you have any questions, let me know.
Thank you, Ms. Plummer. Also here is Mr. Pollard, who is the project architect, and Ms. Bergiel, who is the applicant for the project. If either of you would like to speak, and I would like, if you could speak to just the neighborhood outreach, very much appreciative of doing story polls. That's not normally required for a project like this, but it's it was appreciated in the letter of support we received this morning from one of the neighbors. Thank you. If you could introduce yourself.
Sure thing. I'm Nicole Bergiel, agent for the applicant, the owners of the property, with SEPS Land Use Consulting, and I'm here with Brian Pollard, project architect, as you mentioned. Pilar covered a lot of those salient points. Thank you so much. I will say that, yes, the neighbors were reached out to both on either side and across the street, and no one expressed any concern with the scope of the project, and some did even submit letters of support, which we really appreciated. The modification, I think, as Pilar mentioned, it's worth saying again, was granted for the house immediately to the west as well. So very similar parcel sizes and conditions. So we think there's a good reason to grant this one. I think the other thing I'll say is that we went to SFDB twice and both times got positive comments and were able to respond. And they invited us to come back after SHO for both PDA and final approval on consent. So, they feel pretty good about the design and the scope and scale. I think that covers all my points that Pilar didn't also cover. Thank you.
Well, thank you. And, Mr. Pollard, do you have anything to add at this point?
No, I'm fine.
Very good. Thank you. Ms. Gu, do we have any public comment?
On checking Zoom, I do not see any raised hands at this time, and so we do not have any comment for this particular item.
Very good, thank you. So I reviewed the staff report. I went out to the site, and I agree with staff's recommendation for the floor area modification. It's a modest single-story structure. There are no privacy issues with it. It clearly has neighborhood support and design board support. So I agree that it's an appropriate improvement on the lot. This approval today is it's appealable to the Planning Commission. So the appeal would need to be filed either in person at the Community Development Department at 630 Garden Street or in writing. It would have to be submitted before the 10th calendar day, or it would not after 10 calendar days after this. Sorry, I'm fighting a cold today, and I'm sorry about that. That concludes this item, and with that, I'll adjourn this meeting as well. Thank you.